So, if your calculator is indeed in degree mode and you know your SOHCAHTOAs, is there any reason to not know how to do trig? This tells you exactly the math to do, doesn't it? And the triangle tells you exactly where to get your numbers from, yes? So if you write it out, can you do it wrong? No. And yet, some of you still refuse to write things out. I don't understand it, but that's your hang-up, not mine. So, this question says to solve the triangle. I have not done this with you. I would like for you to tell me what you think is meant by the verb to solve a triangle. Riley. Find the hypotenuse. Okay, that's our first guess. What else? Sam. Find everything, including the hypotenuse. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? Up until now, we have been finding either one side or one angle. Agreed? And if you write it all out, it's pretty easy, yes? When we get to this situation, though, the work is no different, but there are choices involved. And when you guys are faced with choices, if you don't actually totally know what you're doing, you sometimes get a little bit messed up. And when I ask you guys to do questions like this, many times in the classes I have taught in the past, when we get to here, it's almost like we take a step back and can't do what we know how to do. Okay? And the reason for that is this. If I gave you this question, how many choices do you have to solve that? One. What is it? You have a theta, you have an opposite, you have an hypotenuse, so it must be sine, yes? You have to use sine. There's nothing else you could do with that. Agreed? And all of you are like, okay, yeah, sine, one choice, easy peasy. How does that question differ from that question? There's no hypotenuse. And there's no adjacent. And there's no angle. And I say I want you to solve it. So you got to find three things. There's no angle up there. Does everybody understand? So, if I gave you that, you could all do it, yes? Okay. So that means you should be able to still do this, yes? The problem is when we get to here, how do you start? Riley. Yes. Absolutely. So Riley's first move would be to find Z, the angle. Is that part of solving this triangle? Yes. So is he right for his first step? Yes. Excellent. What would your first step be, Aiden?
Probably do theta with x over 41.
41 over x, right? So Aiden's first move would be to find the hypotenuse. Is that one of the things that's missing? So is Aiden's first step also right?
Yeah.
Excellent. Would anybody use 41, 65, and tangent to find the y? Is that one of the things you're missing? So is that first step also correct? So the question becomes, is the math difficult? Or are you asking me how to do something? And if you are asking me how to do it, what is the right answer? If I ask Aiden, how do you do this? You find the hypotenuse first, then work from there. If I ask Riley, Riley says you find the missing angle and you work from there. And if I ask Sam or Jack, whoever said they would do tan, Jack would say, well, you would find the bottom one and work from there. Are they either of them wrong? No. But the problem is, if you don't know how to do trig, you're looking for the way to do the question, not doing math. Do you understand the difference? I talk about it all the time, right? There's following steps, and then there's doing math. Right? If you are just following steps, this is a very difficult question because you don't know where to start. But if you know math, you can start at any of those spots and still get there, yes? All right. So I'm going to work. Riley was the first person to say an answer. You can all work on this in any order you want. I don't mind. I'm going to work through Riley's first. Riley says this angle right here is, I'm going to give you a quick little shortcut here, Riley, because you know the triangles are all 180, right? It's just 90 minus 65, right? Because you've already got 90 degrees of it right there. So this angle is 25 because it's 90 minus 65 equals 25 degrees, yes? Now, do I have two angles? That means, go ahead, Riley. Yeah, now Riley has a whole second theta, doesn't he? He could work with 25 and this adjacent if he wanted to, couldn't he? Would that be right? Yeah. So again, I say it doesn't matter as long as you know how to do trig. Picking up what I'm putting down? So Riley did that one first. And then if I follow Riley's thinking, he said he wanted that so he would have an adjacent. So now he could use tan and cos with 25 and he would get the right answer, wouldn't he? Now, if you started with 65, what would you use? Sine and tan, right? If you did the hypotenuse, could you do Pythagoras for down here? Are any of those answers wrong? No. Do you see why kids are confused by this question? It's not that you guys don't know how to do trig, but when you're faced with 6 choices, you second guess yourself about what one you need to do. Because you're not worried about each step, you're worried about the end of the journey. Right? Is that the way to go about a trip? If I told you we were going to walk across Canada, would you be worried about how you would feel on that last step in St. John's? No, you'd be worried about your next step, right? If you're worried about the last step in St. John's, Newfoundland, and there's a hole on the ground in front of you, what's going to happen?
You're gonna die or fall in the hole.
Holy crap, Jack, what do you think's in the hole? Spikes?
Depends on how big the hole is.
Depends on how far you fall.
You might trip and twist an ankle. Calm down, man. What kind of a walking trip do you think I'm taking you on?
If you're walking, you
You're walking
trip,
along a mountain.
you smash your nose, and then the bone fragments from the bridge.
Yeah, that doesn't actually happen. All right, so everybody solve this. Follow your steps, what you think you should do. Here is what you know. You have a theta of 65. You also know that you have a theta of 25. Because you, of course, know this guy is 90 minus 65. Now, everybody try and solve this. You what? Because I would never be angry at you being late, but why were you lost a kid?
Did you find them?
Yeah, they're running.
One of them was found, but like one of them really was scared. So that's why I know.
High school kids. All right. So,
I finished really. Others, 40 minutes. Kid, what do you do? Did they find the kid? They were at the back. Like, way in the back.
Now, guys. Oh, yes, Riley.
I somehow, okay, so it's 20, I got the A over H would be 41 over X, but I did 25 divided by 41 cos, and I got 33.
Well, because the cos goes with the degrees, not the 41. The cos goes with the angle. So now, the point of this whole exercise is probably not all 30 of us did this the same way. But, regardless of how we did it, if we did our trig right, what will we find? That we all have the same answers. Okay? Now, of course, you won't know unless you actually try it. With your steps, what you would have done. That's why I asked 3 different people the route they would take. I would not have done it this way, personally. I would have done this different way. But however I did it, I would still get that, and 25, the 3 missing parts. Were all of you able to get the 3 missing parts? Which, of course, leads me to ask this question. How much information do you need in a triangle to find everything about the triangle? You need a side and an angle, or 2 sides. Because if you have 2 sides, you can shift sine to get one of your angles. Or shift cos, or shift tan, whichever ones you have. Is everybody good? Was everybody able to get at least one of 45.2 or 19.1? I think that was the other way around. 45.2 or 19.1. No, I did it right. Was everyone able to get one of those 2 at least?
I was answering the question, not if you did it right.
Oh. All right. So that means no, cut it out.
I just saw Get Out.
What are you guys trying to say about Sam? Does he get kicked out often?
Yes.
Oh, yes, totally.
Really?
Rambunctious youth. He is. He's a rambunctious little rascal.
Is he a rambunctious little rapscallion?
Yes.
All right.
Dare I say he's been making well, I don't know if I can say that.
I did on Instagram.
It's quiz time.